I know we're only days away from Halloween. I am definitely late getting this tutorial out, but I figured it doesn't take that long to make. There's only 9 rows, so once you get the hang of it, it can be worked up pretty quickly. So I figured I would post it anyways and share with y'all my pattern for a mini crochet glow ghost. So this project calls, of course, for the glow-in-the-dark yarn. It looks really messy right now because I caked it and I've worked from it. This is Lion Brand Yarns DIY Glow Chenille. You only get 32 yards of this. If I'm being completely honest, the amount I spent on it was very pricey. I wouldn't normally spend the amount I spent on just 32 yards of yarn, but then again, it glows in the dark. And then for your hook, you will want to use a 5.5mm hook. Typically it's a size I, but it's best to go with the millimeters. With this particular glowing chenille yarn, I found that it took just over 8 yards for one ghost. So with the 32 yards that come in it, you're not gonna quite be able to make 4 ghosts. You're gonna be able to make just under 4 ghosts, so 3 unless you make 3 in a partial ghost. Now, with that said, I tend to get flack in a lot of my videos where if I work with a yarn that's difficult to see, but I work with it because the actual yarn I'm using for the project, people give me flack in the comments sometimes saying, oh, you should have used an easier to see yarn to teach the pattern. But then when I use a different yarn that is not the challenging, hard to see on camera yarn, people give me flack in the comments sometimes and are like, oh, well, I wanted to see how it looks using that yarn. And I can't quite please everybody. So here's what I'm going to do as my compromise for this video. I'm going to teach the full tutorial in a different yarn. This is some wool ease that I actually unplied down to just half of the ply. And this makes it about the same thickness as this. It's not going to be exact, but I'm going to work the project in a different yarn to teach the full pattern. And then at the end of the video, I will show some shots of working with the chenille yarn, especially some of those trickier spots, so that way you get a feel for what it's going to look like in the chenille. When you make your ghost, use the chenille yarn, use a 5.5mm hook. I'm going to use a 5.5mm hook and my random substitute yarn that's going to be much easier to see. Alright, y'all might not believe this, I am going to use the magic ring for this project. I'm not really going to show how that's done because I still struggle with it. I've gotten a little bit better. So use the magic ring if you want, or use a different method to start. But when you do the magic ring, you create your ring and you kind of have a chain 1. So now I'm going to work round 1 into this, and I will use a stitch marker to keep me on track. Round 1 is going to be very straightforward. We are going to work 6 single crochet into the ring. So this is 1. This is 2. Go back and put a marker in my first single crochet. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to pull my magic ring shut most of the way. I won't pull it super tight yet. I usually pull it tight later on. And now we're ready for round 2. We're going to have a repeating pattern where we work a single crochet increase and then a single crochet, and we're going to repeat that around 3 times. So in the first stitch, I'm going to work a single crochet increase, which means I will put 2 single crochet into this stitch. So this is 1 and this is 2, both worked in the same spot. That's an increase, and then just 1 single crochet in the next stitch. Repeat that 2 more times. Work an increase by putting 2 single crochet into the next stitch, and then just 1 single crochet in the following stitch. Single crochet increase, so 1 and 2, and then 1 single crochet. At this point I do like to tighten up the center a little bit. Another note, again, this is going to look a little bit different in the chenille yarn because it'll just kind of fill out and fluff up a little bit different, and that yarn is slightly thicker than what I put together here. But that is round 2. We will have a total of 9 single crochet. Rounds 3 and 4, very straightforward. We're going to work single crochet evenly around. So that means we're going to put 1 single crochet into every stitch for a total of 9 single crochet for rounds 3 and 4. So 1 and 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna finish up rounds 3 and 4 off camera, and then I'll come back with the next step. All right, so I have worked through round 4. Of quick note, this is looking way skinnier than it will with the chenille yarn. The chenille yarn kind of puffs it out a little bit, so this looks kind of skinny and small. Yours should look a little bit bigger, but it's all gonna come together in the end anyways. All right, so round 5, we're gonna give our little glow ghost some cute little arms. We're gonna start by crocheting 2, specifically single crocheting, that might be helpful. Okay, so a single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So 1 and 2. Those are my first 2 stitches of the round. Now for the arm, we are going to work a treble crochet into the following stitch. If you're not familiar with it, you're going to yarn over twice, insert your hook into the next loop, or into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Now this stitch is much taller. We're going to work a single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches, and because the single crochet is shorter, it's going to squish that stitch out to the side to make the little arms. So that was the treble. In the next stitch, put a single crochet. And be sure to let that treble squish outward. Don't let it squish inside of the glow ghost. And we're going to do a total of 3 single crocheters. So that's 1, this is 2, and this is 3. If you want your ghost to just have 1 arm, you can just work single crochet the rest of the way around. I'm going to give my ghost a 2nd arm by working another treble. So that's yarn over twice, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That leaves 2 stitches in our round. Each of those are going to get a single crochet. Again, squish the treble out to the side to create the little arm. So single crochet and single crochet. And that's going to finish up round 5. Now we're going to pause here and we're going to add some eyes to our little glow ghost. Now our ghost does have a front and a back. The arms have 3 single crochet between them on this side and 4 single crochet between them on the back. So the way you know it's the front is it's the side that's opposite the join and just has 3 single crochet between them. We're going to add some eyes to our little glow ghost. Honestly, I would recommend going with safety eyes. You're going to get pretty consistent results every time. I actually have some safety eyes, but I could not find them. So we're going to go with the French knot method that my friend Shannon taught me. I want these eyes to be a little bit chunky, so I'm going to double up my yarn and just cut off a length. This is like, I don't know, probably about 8 inches long. And I'm going to kind of create a knot, but I'm going to loop it several times. So I'm going to cross them over and go 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm going to pull the loop closed. That's going to be my false French knot, which is going to be my eyeball. If you want chunkier eyes, your options are to triple or quadruple up the yarn or to loop it more times. The more times you loop it, it will get a little wider. But I like the way these look. Honestly, I'm kind of wishing I hadn't gone with red, but I unplied these from the same thing. Figured I should put this to good use. All right, back to our little glow ghost, which the one I'm making on camera doesn't glow. Also, I feel very chatty. I hope this tutorial is entertaining. Eye placement, really adding anything on amigurumis. I struggle with this. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna first find like this spot right here, and I'm gonna put the base of my eyes like in either spot there. So I'm gonna come up from the bottom with my hook, and then pull the tail of an eye on through. Again, honestly, just use safety eyes. Your life will be so much easier. As Monk would say, you'll thank me later. Okay, oh, this is gonna be a scary looking ghost with red eyes. Oh, I like more like harvest, cute Halloween versus scary Halloween. Anyways, okay, that's one eye. I'm gonna put the other one, go through just like over a stitch. Let me pull the bottom through there. And then once they're both in, I'm gonna kind of position them. Oh my, it's like a demon scary ghost. Ah! Okay. I'm just going to find a stitch kind of above and angle it out a little bit. Pull it on through. Again, I highly recommend just doing your eyes with safety eyes or just differently than what I'm doing. But this is what I'm working with. Okay, also don't pull your knot to the inside. Okay, there we go. That's one eye. Again, for the other eye, I'm just going to kind of go to the stitch above it and a little bit to the outside and pull the tail on through. Get your eye situated. I like to pop them inside out for this step. I'm going to tie knots to hold the eye in place. Okay, and when I inside back out it should, ooh, that one got a little twisted. Okay, how cute. My little demon-eyed glow ghost that does not glow. It's fine. Okay, I gotta be honest, I'm really proud of my eye placement at least. I feel like the eyes are a good size. I feel like placement's good. And I just tuck all those tails on up into the ghost. All right, now let's get back to crocheting. Round 6 and 7, we're going to work 9 single crochet around. I will show you round 6 because we do work in the trebles, but it's not that bad. So we're gonna do 9 single crochet. So this is 1 single crochet, 2. The next stitch is our treble, but we don't do anything different. We just still work on the top of it. 3, 4, 5, 6, again all single crochet, 7, we're working on the top of our other treble, but again, nothing changes, 8, and 9. A quick note, you do not have to do round 7. That will make your ghost slightly shorter. I personally went for the taller ghost, but I'll show you the 2 ghosts that I made. One I made a little shorter, one I made a little taller. If you want the taller ghost, include round 7. If you want the shorter ghost, skip round 7. But round 7, I'm gonna work 9 single crochet evenly around. I'm gonna work that off camera and then I will show you round 8. Here's what we've got so far after round 7. So cute, so spooky. Now round 8 and 9, things are gonna get a little funky. Stick with me, you're gonna get it. For round 8, we are going to start by chaining 2. So 1, 2, and then we're going to single crochet in the front loop only. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put my stitch marker in the back loop of the previous row, and I'm just gonna leave it in that back loop. So I'm gonna work my first stitch, my first single crochet of round 8 in just the front loop, like so. When we get done with this row, you're gonna see why we left the stitch marker there. And I'm going to repeat that around 9 times. So chain 2, 1, 2, go to the next stitch, single crochet in the front loop only. Chain 2, 1, 2, single crochet in the front loop only. What this is creating is the little like ruffle around the base of the ghost. And then we'll go and we'll work in those back loops for round 9 to finish off the project. But again, we're gonna do this a total of 9 times. Chain 2, work a single crochet in the front loop only of the following stitch. This is 8, so chain 2, single crochet front loop only, and this is 9, chain 2, single crochet in the front loop only. Alrighty, that's round 8. Round 9, we're gonna bring it all together. This is why you want to have your stitch marker there. I especially highly recommend it for working with the chenille yarn to make it really easy to see, because the chenille yarn is very challenging to see for this step. But before we crochet round 9, we are going to stuff our glow ghost, and I am going to be using stuffing that I salvaged from an old pillow. The stuffing was like really, you know, mushed around in the pillow. It was like all worn out. So the pillow was no good as a pillow anymore, but I held on to the innards of the pillow, and they will now become the innards of my little ghost. Also with this pattern, I sometimes find I don't have to stuff it at all because my tails were long enough, but stuff it to your heart's content. Okay, that should be good. Here's how we're gonna work round 9. In the first stitch, I am going to slip stitch in the back loop only. That's where I have my stitch marker. So I'm gonna go to that spot and I'm gonna slip stitch in that back loop. So these are the back loops from row 7 that we didn't work in. Okay. Now that I slip stitched there, I'm gonna Pull my stitch marker out so it's not in the way. I'm going to work 4 half double crochet decreases in the back loop only. That sounds complicated. I promise you it's not that bad. What we're going to do is yarn over, insert under the next back loop, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, insert under the next back loop only, which is right here, yarn over, pull up a loop. You will have 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through everything. That's your first half double crochet decrease in back loops only. We're going to do 3 more. Yarn over, insert in the next back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert in the next back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, then yarn over and pull through all 5 loops on your hook. Also, as you're doing this, try not to catch your stuffing. That's kind of what you're seeing me being a little fiddly about here. Okay, 2 more to go. Yarn over, insert in the next back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert in the next back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 5 loops on your hook. 1 more, hang in there. Yarn over, insert under the next back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over. Now this one's a little tricky to see. It's kind of like there, buried in there. Just find a place to work, it'll be okay. Yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull through all 5 stitches. And then we're going to fasten off right now and leave a long tail for sewing. So I'm going to cut myself a nice long tail. And to fasten off, I'm going to pull this on through all the way. It looks a little bit open. We're gonna sew this closed. And again, with the chenille yarn, it's so chunky that it'll fill it in really well too. We are in the home stretch here. I want to sew these 4 stitches closed. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm gonna go under one of the loops from inside to out, pull, so that's 1. Go to the next stitch, that loop, inside to out, that's 2. Go to the next loop. It's basically under just the front loop of the top, so those half double crochet decreases. You'll go under 4 of them, and inside to out every time, cinch it up, nice and secure, and then I'm gonna run the needle through the center and then out somewhere on the side. Get my needle to pierce through. I'm kind of poking stuffing up there. That's okay. We'll stuff the stuffing back inside later. Gonna pull to get that center kind of pulled in nice and flat. That looks good. I think feels secure. I'm just gonna snip this off. And guess what? We made our little glow ghost. Yay! Which this one does not glow, but that's okay. Look at how cute he is. Even with the scary red eyes, I think this is adorable. That's the pattern. I know it might seem kind of long in the video here, but you're working with a chunky yarn and a decent size hook. There's only 9 rounds. While those last 2 rounds can be a little fiddly, once you get the hang of them, you'll probably be able to whip this guy up pretty quickly. I'm a pretty slow crocheter and I can whip one of these up in about 15 to 20 minutes, including the sewing and adding the eyes. Now I'll show you a couple of the sections with the chenille yarn so you can really get a feel for how it's going to look if you're using the chenille yarn. Again, I'm not going through the full tutorial in the chenille though. Alright, if you're working in the chenille yarn and making a magic ring, honestly I think this is fairly okay to see. Again, stitch markers are your friend. So this is my first stitch in the magic ring. I'm not going to take the chance. I'm going to put the stitch marker in right from the jump and then put a total of 6 into the magic ring. As you can see, it's much more challenging to see where our stitches are. Alright, so that's 6 stitches in the ring. The only way I know that is because I counted as I went. Again, of course, pull it to cinch it up. I will say the chenille holds up pretty well. Some chenilles, you pull on them and it falls apart. This holds up well enough when I do the magic ring that I can cinch it up. So now to work round 2 I have my first stitch marked so I at least know where I'm aiming. And I'm going to put an increase in there, but make sure you go under both loops. You don't want to miss going under that back loop. So this is what it looks like when you're working into the stitches of the previous round. So that's 1, 2 for my first increase. You want to really be careful and look for where you're aiming. So that's my next spot. It's 1 single crochet. This is the next spot. Again, it's hard to see. You kind of have to get an intuitive feel for it. It does get easier the more you work with these types of yarn, but just kind of illustrating that it is a bit tricky to see in the chenille yarn. So if you can get through rounds 1 and 2, rounds 3 and 4, you're going to be just fine with. Also, quick note, just a little size comparison. You can see the chenille turns out chunkier like I was saying. Round 5, we have a little bit of extra flair with those treble stitches, but honestly, it's not any more difficult than anything we've done so far in the chenille. So we have our first 2 single crochet, just working along the treble, yarn over twice. It's just a matter of figuring out where to insert the hook. There's nothing, different about working the treble in the chenille than in the other yarn. Again, make sure you pop that arm out as you finish up the round. Now I could have added eyes. I'm going to unravel this one because I want to use the rest of my glow yarn for something else. But let me show you kind of rounds 8 and rounds 9 because again, these are a lot more fiddly with the chenille yarn. So before we start round 8, we want to take that stitch marker and put it in just the back loop of that first stitch from round 7 because we want to keep that marked for later on when we work round 9. So I start by chaining 2, 1, 2, and work a single crochet only in the front loop of the following stitch from round 7. So that's 1, and we're going to repeat that a total of 9 times. So this is my second time. Again, when I work the single crochet just under the front loop, I'm not going all the way through the chenille. I'm just going up through the front loop, work my single crochet. Let me finish this round and I'll show you how round 9 looks a little goofy. Alright, I finished row 8. Those are the back loops from round 7 that we're going to work in. So we've got the stitch marker marking our first spot, which we're going to work a slip stitch in that back loop. So I'll go under right there and slip stitch. This one's not as challenging to see, especially because we marked it, but then it gets a little bit trickier to see. So that's kind of why I want to show you a little bit in this yarn. So we're going to work that half double crochet decrease in the back loops. What I like to do is I like to feel with my finger to find, oh, that's the back loop where we just worked under. You can see I'm kind of lifting where that slip stitch is connected. So that tells me I need to feel over one, which is going to be right there. It's a lot of just feeling it. So pull up my loop, yarn over, got to go to the next one. Again, I'm kind of looking with my finger, not looking with the finger, I'm feeling with my finger while I look, so that's right there. So I'm going to aim for beside it. Okay, that's what I mean. This pattern gets a little bit goofy and hard to see in the chenille. If you're used to working with chenille, it's not any harder than any other chenille, but just as a fair warning, the pattern itself is simple, but the chenille yarn can make it challenging to see where to work. It's a lot of intuitively feeling where to go. And here's the other thing, guys. If you don't get it exactly right, that's okay. No one's going to know. And it's the bottom of the ghost. No one's going to be examining the bottom of the ghost anyways. They're just going to be going, oh my gosh, it's a ghost and it glows. So keep that in mind. Go easy on yourself and have fun getting frustrated potentially with working with fuzzy chenille yarn. Again, as I get to the end here, it gets even harder to see because it's closing up. So I'm kind of, to an extent, just making up where I'm inserting my hook. And you know what? Whatever works is going to work. And then, of course, I would have stuffed this and added eyes, and I would seam the bottom close, all that yada yada. But that's a little sneak peek of what it looks like to give you a feel for working with the chenille yarn. I hope y'all enjoy creating your own glow ghost, and I hope everyone has a happy Halloween. As always, thanks so much for watching. Okay, sound off in the comments below, what is the coolest glow-in-the-dark thing you have ever owned? I had a lot of glow-in-the-dark things growing up. We had the glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. I had glow-in-the-dark polymer clay. I had glow-in-the-dark perler beads. Those were awesome. I had glow-in-the-dark PJs. Those were like the coolest thing ever. So let me know in the comments, what glow-in-the-dark things did you have that you still think are really cool?